Welcome to Rauta. This video is done in commercial collaboration with our sponsor, Steelfest. Welcome to Rauta, and this time we have a black metal band, a single one, a solo project from Germany called Beyond Helvete. Now the previous album I reviewed a couple of years ago called MMXX 2020 was actually quite bad of an album. Not super bad, not super shite or anything like that, but just something that you could totally ignore, move on and skip it. And this one is luckily somewhat better. However, it would be a little bit too far-fetched to say this is exactly a good album. While this album has some better things going on and to some degree it's actually quite likable, there are lots of parts where I feel like, yes, this is yet another Dark Funeral copycat or worship bands like nowadays is put more political correct ways. So, welcome the fourth album by Beyond Helvete called Anthems of Decay. Now this comes a little bit late to the party, having been released already late 2022, and here we are already a few months in with 2023. So this album has been waiting for its turn, and what we have here for its 41 minutes of music and 8 tracks is mostly fast tempo black metal. Now that pretty much sums up why I'm calling it a German version of Dark Funeral. Obviously there are differences, but the more and more you kind of listen to it, the more and more you kind of figure out, yes, this is probably a lot inspired by the faster albums of Marduk, the kinds of Dark Funeral and all that stuff. One could even say this is a one-trick pony. You listen to one or two songs and you know how the rest of the album will go. And depending on your view of the given band mentioned, bands, or the style, fast tempo, melodic, kind of evil sounding and all that stuff, you're gonna like it a lot, or then you feel like I'm just gonna skip it, not my cup of tea. Now, comparing to Dark Funeral is also peculiar for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's one of the biggest black metal bands out there, at least by numbers. It's largely followed, it's a largely liked band. I mean, people like, wow, Dark Funeral coming to here play, wow, that's really great because it's one of my favorite bands. I don't know if anybody actually thinks that, but whenever you go to a Dark Funeral show, you're gonna see a lot of people liking it a lot, going, banging their heads and whatever. So it's not like it's a bad thing. Then there are lots of people who's like, Dark Funeral, get the hell out of here. It's a horrible band. I don't want to listen to it. Me personally, I would say their first album is really good. And even some of the later material, I mean, it's very, very solid. Can be considered kind of a plastic and all that stuff, and in certain ways kind of soulless. But the thing here is, there's always room for bands that go just with those evil riffs and that kind of a dark atmosphere and fast blasting it all the way through. Now, when I'm talking about Dark Funeral, I also mean Beyond Helvete, because basically this is doing exactly the same, but just with, I guess, more organic production. And organic in this context can mean two things. It means more low budget one, so kind of a more dirtier, but also it can mean, yes, it sounds more, how to say, less overproduced. So technically speaking, I would say a little bit better. But when it comes to the songwriting, I mean, there are parts where Beyond Helvete is almost like, yes, this is really good. And then there are parts like, why is this super recycled riff here happening all over again? Why this is being used? Because it's not exactly good. The reason probably is this is a one-man brand, one-man project, and when you don't have other people to challenge you like, hey, don't use that riff. It's been already used a million times before. Just do some changes, create something new, add some layers, create more tempo variations or whatever. Essentially a producer, things might have changed. But when you're this one-man guy with a vision and you think you are handling everything all right, nobody has the place to tell you what to do, what to fix, what to change, whatever. That's when things happen. Sometimes they are for the better. Think about early version, for example. And then there are like bands like these, which is like you're almost going to the right direction, but because you go so much solo with your, I don't know, tunnel vision take, you also drive a little bit off road. Might be intentional, might be that just happens because once again you're out there alone in the woods and nobody's giving you a map like, hey, this is the direction you want to go, not that way. Now, that's because that is a reason why I'm a little bit divided here. Like I said, on the other hand, Anthem of Decay has some good ideas here and there. It's like, yeah, I like them. I like some of these riffs and like the kind of fast-paced energy, and I like the dark atmosphere. But a lot of these songs also kind of, bore me down because I almost feel like, yeah, this is someone who just heard Dark Funeral a lot lately and wanted to do exactly that, but with just less money. And that, like I said, that could be a good thing for some, but for me, not so much. Taking the more critical approach, I would say, yeah, this is kind of listenable. It doesn't annoy me one bit, except with some riffs here and there, which is very, very boring. But then again, nothing really here sticks. So while this is something that I could totally enjoy over drinks with my pals and stuff like that, after 30 minutes, I'm like, this is just too much the same. I need to move on and do something else. And when this album runs more than 40 minutes, you're like, yeah, a little bit too much. So more diversity would have been needed, more variation, more something unique, or at least something more original. When you're a one-trick pony, you really have to care for what kind of riffs you choose to use and how do you do them? I mean, unless you're Panzer Division Marduk, kind of a gold star album, maybe not go that much with one trick pony approach, but just include something else. But this is my take. Maybe yours is different. Maybe you're gonna enjoy this album a lot. But what I would still say, this is for fans of Dark Funeral and the like. If you don't like that opinion, well, can't help you. This is Rauta, and check out the music from links below, or at least get more information. And I hope you enjoy what you're listening to. Bye bye.